Welcome back to Garage Matters. Now we're gonna try something a little different this time. It is the weekend, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw this pork shoulder inside my smoker and then let it smoke for a couple hours, come back, clean out this vehicle, and then by that time, this piece of meat should be done in the smoker. So if you're curious on how to smoke this piece of meat right here, come on over because there's really no right or wrong way when it comes to smoking meat. Now, if you're new to the smoking scene, it's alright. Don't be intimidated. I've only been doing this for a couple months and it came out edible. Now, this big piece of meat only costed me $14. It's 9 pounds, so it's 14 bucks for this big piece of meat right here. And for $14, I'm perfectly fine with lots of trial and error and YouTube videos and just seeing what all tips I could find on the internet. So $14 is perfectly fine with me. And what I normally like doing is trimming all the fat off. You can see that I've already trimmed most of it off, but then, yeah, that's what it looks like. So this whole cap over here of fat, all I did is just trimmed it off. Now what I've got spread out on this table is butcher's paper right here. What I've noticed is that when I use butcher's paper and I wrap it up halfway through the process, this meat still comes out nice and tender. And supposedly, this is supposed to help speed up the cooking process as well. Now, to go ahead and get this seasoned, all I do is I just take this Stubbs Texas all-purpose rub right here and just sprinkle it all over this piece of meat. And then I rub it in there very generously. And there's really no right or wrong way to do this. Some people like putting mustard on it and then season it with salt and pepper. But for me, I just like keeping it simple and just using this. And it actually comes out pretty good. This has kind of like a sweet and tangy flavor to it. Now don't be afraid of the seasoning. I used about 3/4 of this bottle right here. Now with the rest of it, all I'm gonna do is just rub it right into the meat like this. And with all this leftover that fell over to the side, I'm just gonna rub it right into the meat just like this. Now once you got the seasoning rubbed into the meat, you wanna make sure that you get the in-between cuts like this right here. Sometimes if you don't lift this up like this, you're gonna miss all this right here. And you wanna make sure that you get all the crevices like this as well too. That way, it'll be nice and flavorful. But we're not gonna have too much issues with that because that smoke is gonna help add additional flavor as well. Now, I like setting the smoker for about 250. And I think for this piece of meat, we're gonna go 8 hours. I think this time I'm gonna try 4 hours, no butcher's paper. And then the rest of the 4 hours, I'm gonna pull this out, wrap it up in butcher's paper, and then finish it off back inside of the smoker. Now let's go ahead and bring this out to the smoker and I'll show you how I have my smoker set up. All right, we are in my backyard. This is the smoker I have. This is a really cheap one that I got off Amazon, but I noticed that it works perfectly fine for me and my family. Not too complicated, really simple to use. Right here we have the temperature and we've got it set to about 250 right now. The hours, we got it set to 8 hours and we're just gonna let it smoke in here for 8 hours and it should be perfectly fine. Now I've tried these Webers before. I use this for steaks, hot dogs and hamburgers. Works perfectly fine. Supposedly you can smoke in here as well, but I've never had luck smoking with charcoal. I've noticed the electric smokers are so much easier. And down here, you do have a place to put your wood chips in here as well. Now let's go ahead and open this up, put this piece of meat inside the smoker, and take a look at that. So yeah, it might look a little dirty in here, but you know what? All I do is I just wipe it out. I don't spray it down. I don't wash it with soap and water. I kind of feel like if you do soap and water, you're gonna remove all of that flavor that is baked into the sides right here. That's gonna help give it that nice flavor. So I do clean the racks at least, but other than that, I don't do anything else. I just wipe it out and we'll go ahead and put this piece of meat in here and I come back in 4 hours while we go clean the car. All right, take a look at that. All right, I'll come back in 4 hours and wrap you up. Now the best part about having an electric smoker is that you can set it and forget it. Now I have 8 hours to come back inside this garage and clean my vehicle. But I highly doubt that you guys want to watch me clean this vehicle for 8 hours. So let me just give you guys the quick rundown on this vehicle. Over here, we have my 1994 Toyota Celica GT4. And if you notice, I do have a 360 cam, and I will put some of that footage up right now. And one of the biggest misconceptions about this vehicle that I get is that it is a Toyota Supra, the baby Supra, because look at this ginormous wing. It's a pretty massive wing. This is all factory, straight from the factory. Now, one of the things that I truly love about this vehicle, take a look at these brake calipers. These brake calipers are raised lettering. It says Celica, so it's not stickers on here. So back in 1994, Toyota was so proud of their vehicles that they did that. It's a two-pot system, so there's two pistons on either side. Let's go ahead and take a look at inside this vehicle. So inside this vehicle, for a vehicle that is 1994, it is still pretty well kept. I normally just drive it on the weekends, maybe once or twice a month just to get all the fluids moving again, but I just need to go ahead and vacuum it, wipe everything down again, and make it nice and clean. And I did redo the leather seats. I'll put a link in the description below on how I did that myself. As you can tell, it's not the best. The place where I bought it from, the seat covers are not the best. It's not tight, but it's a whole lot better than what it used to look like before. And if you notice back behind here, I took the rear seats out because the leather was starting to tear apart as well. But it doesn't look too bad back here. It does have the factory strut tower bar up there as well. And back here I do have a 8-speaker series that I test 8 speakers on inside this vehicle. Here's some of the speakers that I've tested in this vehicle. We've got the kickers up here. Kickers, Kenwood's Hertz Milli Pros. We got some Rockford Foskett's down here as well. JL Audios and more kickers up here. And then some cheap knockoff no-name brands that I've tested inside this vehicle. Highly recommend that you guys check out that series. It is an 8-part series, and there's actually a total of about 13 videos on speakers testing inside this vehicle. Now let's come around the front. So on the front, we do have massive front braking systems as well. This is straight from the factory. It also says Celica on it as well. And if you notice, it's got these 2 humps. There's 2 pistons on this side and 2 pistons on the other side. Hence the name 4-pot system. So there's 4 pistons in here. Pretty massive brakes for a factory car. Now, if you don't know, the Toyota Celica GT4 was homologated for rally racing. And this particular one is a WRC. Now, the WRC spec only came with this right here. This is the factory anti-lag bypass valve. And it's just that old school technology. Everything's all mechanical. So what's going to happen is once you let off the throttle, that throttle plate up there is going to close, bypass that air that's coming in from here into this gold bolt right here. So some of that air is going to travel through here, which is connected to the exhaust manifold, and it's going to ignite within the exhaust manifold to help keep this turbo spooling, hence the name anti-lag bypass valve, because it's bypassing the main combustion that's happening inside this engine. It's going to give you that secondary combustion right here in the exhaust manifold and blow up this turbo even faster. But that's how it works. Now, this vehicle does have something pretty cool right here. Take a look at this alternator. It has this rubber snorkel that goes down underneath the vehicle to help cool the vehicle. Now, if you might have noticed something, check this out right here. This rubber snorkel is connected to the head right here, and it actually goes down to this timing belt right here. So inside this timing belt, it's going to get cool air, which is drawn from here. And take a look at this ducting inside of this hole right here, which almost looks like a machine gun hole, but it's actually an air vent for that ram air to come down through here and then down to here to help cool the timing belt. Now another thing I like about this vehicle, check this out. Up here, this is the intercooler for this turbo. So it's gonna leave the turbo, go inside this intercooler. But there's something pretty awesome about this intercooler. There's no fins on here. The fins are up here because it's an air to water intercooler. Check this out. I'm gonna pop this open right here and hopefully it doesn't spill out everywhere. But there is radiator fluid inside of here. That's gonna help cool that charged air before it makes it into the throttle body. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for this engine bay. If you notice, I don't have an intake on here. I kept it factory. I just went with a aftermarket K&N panel filter in here to keep things stock, because if you look at where the turbo's placed right here, and if you got that open filter element right here, it's gonna be sucking in all that hot air. So I found it counterintuitive. That's why I just left the factory airbox right here. And this hood's pretty awesome. Take a look at that. That's all factory. I didn't have to cut that out or anything. Plenty of ventilation on this car. Now let's take a look at the driver's seat real quick and see what it looks like inside. Again, from this perspective, but that is what it looks like. Classic 3 pedals down there. I love 3 pedals down there. I love working those pedals. And yeah, this is pretty much it. 5-speed tranny right here. And this car still has the classic handbrake. Now, I love a classic handbrake. I'm not really a big fan of those electronic parking brakes because, I don't know, it just feels weird. You gotta press a button. I just like pulling up on it so much quicker, and I'm just used to it. Now, the dashes, you gotta keep in mind this is 1994, so yeah, it's pretty dated, but I grew up with these analog style dashes and I have no issues with it. I like analog gauges. I think they're cool. I like them. Now that is pretty much it for this Toyota Celica, and I think we're gonna go do something else. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this vehicle and then probably see you guys as soon as I take out that pork shoulder to go ahead and wrap up and just kind of show you guys exactly what I'm doing and how I cook my pork shoulder. So I'll see you guys here in a couple hours. All right guys, so it's been about 4 hours. It's still smoking, so let's go ahead and get this open and get this meat out so we can wrap it up in that paper. Ooh. Oh, that smells so good. All right, so it looks pretty good. Now with this pork shoulder removed, it looks like it's almost done actually. That meat's starting to separate from the bone, so I think we're gonna just wrap it up and do 3 hours instead of 4. 250 was a little high, but I think 3 hours wrapped up should be good. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Now for this next part, all I'm gonna do is just transfer this pork shoulder right on over here like this, and then just wrap it up like this. And then this extra paper that I've initially laid down, I'm just gonna use it to go ahead and wrap it another time. So I'm gonna wrap it 2 times. And this butcher's paper, totally safe to put inside of that smoker just like this. All right, so did I say 4? I meant to say 3. We're gonna do 3 hours now because it looks like it's almost done. So we'll just do 3 hours back in here just like this. Let's go ahead and pull this little container out right here. We're just gonna fill this back up with some wood chips. Now these are the wood chips I'm using. I'm using hickory wood. Sometimes I like using mesquite. Mesquite's good as well too, but normally all you do is you just soak it in water. And this has been soaking for about a couple of hours now, so I'm just gonna refill this canister with new fresh wood chips and let it smoke for about another 3 hours, and I think we should be good with 3 more hours of smoke. Alright, just like that, and then we're just gonna put this cover back on like this. And then take it back over to the smoker. Oh, all right. And then place it right down in here again. Really simple process. Anybody can do this. It's all done. Now we're just gonna wait 3 more hours. Now thanks for sticking around. It's been roughly about 3 hours. Let's go ahead, head on back outside and bring this meat inside. Now, as you can tell, it's pitch dark outside now, but we are gonna open this up right here and take a look at this in here. Alright, so I'm gonna set this phone down and pull it out. Now we're gonna let our pork shoulder rest for a little bit while we make our barbecue sauce. Now with our butter melted, let's go ahead and make this barbecue sauce. I'm just gonna pour some of this right into this little mixing bowl right here. And that looks like that's probably gonna do it. And we're just gonna pour some of this butter in here. And then some of this Thai garlic chili pepper sauce in here. Just to help give it that kick. And then we're just gonna whip it up. And that is going to pretty much do it for my barbecue sauce. And I've always done it like this, and actually it turns out pretty good, so you can try it yourself and let me know in the comments below what you think of this. Now with the shoulder unwrapped, we can tell that the bark, there's really no bark on here. It's still a little soggy, but I think we should have left it unwrapped for maybe 5 hours instead of 4 hours. Let's go ahead and see if we can pull this meat apart. And that is still really hot, but we're gonna start pulling some of this apart right here. Now here's a close-up of the shoulder picnic. This is the meat that we shredded. There's still plenty of meat left that needs to get shredded. Here's a pulled pork sandwich right here. And as far as this being the shoulder picnic, I feel like something went wrong this time. It seemed like when I was shredding this, it didn't shred as easily as the first couple of times when I tried it with a Boston butt. So I'm not sure if it was the temperature or the time, or if it was because it was the shoulder picnic. But regardless, there's only one thing left to do now, which is to go ahead and try out this sandwich. Let's go ahead and get this bun over here, plate like this, and give it a try. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Since we're in the garage, I didn't bring no napkins out here, so we're gonna use shop towels for napkins. Now for about $14, I really think that this picnic shoulder still really wasn't a bad deal. I don't think I'm gonna try a picnic shoulder again next time. I'll probably just stick with the Boston butts. It seems like with Boston butts, I have better luck. Now that's gonna do it this time for Garage Matters. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and join us next time on Garage Matters.